Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, well, we're gonna go live now, and we'll talk about this with everybody. What's going on? Rob and I were just kind of discussing back and forth some of this Flight 1 stuff. We just got done watching the big, long podcast video where Dominic Clifton, one of the original Clean Fight BETAFLIGHT developers, programmers, whatever, is supposedly joining the Flight 1 team. You just don't really know ever what's going on with these guys. They're just kind of all over the place, right? Am I wrong, Rob? Exactly. So I've been back into FPV for, well, what, 3 weeks? All right, we'll say 3 weeks, and I never really got away from the whole aspect. I said I cut down a lot on the social media aspect of it and still stayed up to date on things that were going on in the hobby. So Flight 1, of course, has the whole FALCOX thing, and the whole reason why I'm talking about this is because I do have a Revolt OSD and I want to try FALCOX along with the BETAFLIGHT 4.1 RPM, because back a couple months ago I was convinced that I thought that FALCOX flew better than BETAFLIGHT 4 did. Now, I was flying on different rigs, so I want to do an apples to apples comparison for myself, because you know there's only 80 or 90 people that are going to watch these videos for 2 or 3 minutes, so trying to find the best flight experience for myself personally. So right now all I can say is that 4.1 with the RPM on the new build that I did on the channel, you can take a look at it if you want, is super clean, sounds great, feels great, and flies great. We'll be going over more of that in another video, but I thought this was pretty timely because I watched this today. What else is pretty timely? Well, Jason Chi here, he really loves, loves, what's he looking at here? Oh, FALCOX on a squirt or something. This guy's probably gonna go make millions flying through houses. So what I really love is this is the first group that I joined back up on literally an hour ago. I don't even think my request has went through yet. And it was the Flight 1 official discussion and support group. And I'm scrolling down through here and I see my boy Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, coming at Nick Willard, you know, Wild Willie, and these guys with knowledge saying, you know, you can't ever get a good flying quad. Well, they're not really saying that, but you can't get like an exact scientifically flying quad without black box. More precisely, if you're having a problem, right? A problem? Yeah. So if you have a problem that you can't diagnose, then it's kind of hard to find out what it is with without a black box log. And I'm totally bought into that process, especially when it comes to like the noise levels and the filtering and everything like that. Like, you have to look at that stuff and find out, or you're just going to be going down too many rabbit holes. And that was the problem that I went down with FALCOX, and also that is still prevalent, I think, in BETAFLIGHT 4.1, because we see all of the easy fancy stuff going on with the bigger FPV YouTube influencers. Get the RPM filter, how to set it up, so on and so forth. But there's a lot more that they have built into this 4.1 that many people aren't even talking about, if anybody. You know, probably Mark's the only one, but there's a lot of changes to feed forward, and there's just, you know, the stuff that they're building into make Crossfire and the OpenTX system more responsive. The stuff's just all about like creating a scientific feel and response. So when you move stick from A to B, your quad moves from A to B with as little lag in between, so on and so forth. That's kind of like the generic low-level term. But there's a lot of extra stuff in here. Feed forward boost, feed forward limiting, Just all kinds of stuff that, like, I'm not even going to attempt to talk about, and I know a lot of people aren't going to attempt to talk about too. So with the new BETAFLIGHT configurator, there's, thank goodness, there's things that we had to do all the time that we can just click little buttons now and it does things for us. But there's things that I still wish they would have done, and they might one of these days. I know it takes time and these guys don't get paid, which is the whole reason why HYDRA, Dominic Clifton, is joining Flight 1 evidently, so he can make some money, even though he's still going to try to support I don't know how it's going to work. But anyway, you look at Flight 1 here, and they're still 2 months ago on their video, which, you know, it's kind of surprising. You know, you sit and talk about being a small YouTuber and I make fun of, like, you know, 90 people or 100 people watching my videos, you know, where Flight 1 is Flight 1, but I have as almost many subscribers as Flight 1 does, the company that's making money. And, you know, they get a couple thousand views on their channel. So how many people are actually using Flight 1 and how many people are actually active members? You know, it's kind of hard to tell. So it's definitely not the popular choice. And I don't think it would be the popular choice even if it came in more vehicles ready to fly or whatever. So the thing about FALCOX that I did not like was that I really never knew what was going on underneath the hood of my quad. So I would constantly find myself just playing with these tunes and presets, which I love, but at the same time they are an Achilles heel because you're just trying to find one that works the best, not what looks the best on paper. And I think that was Mark and Nick's argument there, that, and I sit somewhere in the middle on that, like I said, I totally believe in the filtering and everything like that, looking at black box logs. And if I have a problem, I need that log to help me figure out what it is. So I can't get that in Flight 1. And I think that's what Mark is trying to say, and Superfly there is trying to say, is that, look, I understand what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to make it easy. You're trying to make it one-stop shop. Click, click, boom, go fly, have a great time. But there's a lot of people out there. You don't have enough of the market, and you're never going to get enough of the people coming over unless you start putting your equipment and firmware into everything that comes from China. So you might as well cater to the more experienced people and try to convince us to come over to Flight 1, not new people that are coming into the hobby, because new people that are coming into the hobby are not going to pay $50 for a flight controller and $65 for an ESC if they can't even get it. I mean, right? I mean, how long have you been waiting on your new Bolt Freestyle, Rob? I mean, yeah, you've been pre-ordered for months. So yeah, so anyway, and they finally came out with a configurator. This is their alpha builds, and again, 2 months ago in their last video that they did, their last Falco Friday, which whatever happened to that, you know, they said that they had the configurator coming and they were pretty close to a release candidate, but it's not here. And the beta build is still beta 4, which came out back in like June. That's what I was flying. But on the other hand, you know, Preston, no matter what many people might think about him, like, the guy is making moves and he's connected somehow, right? Like, he's met with DJI, supposedly. I mean, you can't, like, I mean, we don't have proof that he didn't, right? Yeah, so I mean, he went to China, he talked to all these different people. They talk about all these great ideas. They've got new hardware coming and stuff, which is why, you know, I need to get a new ESC to get this Flight 1 quad going, and that's all I'm gonna get. I'm not gonna we'll get a Hobby Wing ESC, that direct connect and everything like that. I'm not gonna go with any of the Flight 1 stuff because honestly, I just don't trust it. their whole model with that ESC thing just drove me crazy. So, you know, I'm gonna go with the hobby wing. And, you know, part of being away from the hobby for a long time, you know, 3 or 4 months, is that you become very selective about how you want to spend your money from now on. And one of the big reasons why is you don't want stuff like this. You know, I've got boxes and I got rid of a lot of stuff, but this is stuff that came in like the Flown Flop box and everything like that. But, you know, you get this stuff that you just get piles of it that is useless. Luckily these motors are basically like brand new and stuff, so we're going to use these same kV, same stator size motors on another Source 1 and try to make it as close to the BETAFLIGHT 4.1 build as we can, within reason and within budget. And I mean, that's really the key, is to try to get the best performance with the least amount of money and effort. That's where I'm sitting at right now with myself and the view in this hobby, and I think a lot of people are that way, especially when you've been going full tilt for 7-8 years like myself. Now, taking a look here at some of my old FALCOX video, and you know, I'm comparing it to my BETAFLIGHT 4.1 video, and I gotta say, it's the thing about FALCOX, why I want to try it again, is that, and I don't know if it was the 6S thing, it probably was a little bit heavier quad, whatever, but I want to do that apples to apples like I'm talking about, is that it really flies different. At least it did for me. You know, like, did it fly better? I don't know. I'm just saying that it flies different. And BETAFLIGHT 4.1 flies really clean. So I want to see how clean I can get FALCOX flying on the same type of power system setup and everything like that, and truly make a good comparison for myself, so I can see which ones I want to fly with. And I'll probably end up flying them both. I want to be part of both ecosystems, just so I feel that I can provide more of a balanced opinion towards everybody, because I'm not in either camp. Some people definitely have their allegiances, and that is fine, but you can definitely, we all know that Flight 1 is in the minority when it comes to this. And you know, if you take a look at some BETAFLIGHT 4.1 footage, which it's not going to look as good. I don't know why unrendered GoPro footage just doesn't play well with Windows. I mean, I got a RTX 2070 in here. This is like an 8-core, 16-thread processor, and it's still stuttery and everything like that. But this was one of my tuning flights that I was doing with 4.1. And, you know, 4.1, you know, this quad is flying really fast. It's flying really precise. Well within my limits of control, even though I haven't flown a lot lately. So I was very comfortable. I was able to step right in and just basically fly like I have flown before. Actually, maybe a little bit more aggressive, just because I am wanting to kind of change my flying style a little bit. I've been working on pinching versus thumbing, things like that, just trying to like improve overall. So, but I mean, Rob, right? Video? Yeah, I mean, see, the GoPro 7 makes a lot of this stuff look good now, period, compared to like a session. So that's a really big advantage. It's a disadvantage with the weight, but the camera sensor does hide a lot of the little issues that you might see. Now, when I was watching back through some of these videos, and I'll show you in my 4.1 tuning video that I'm working on, is you can see the lower PIDs and the oscillations and stuff like that. And then I raised up the PID levels, changed some things, and you can see that kind of instability go away. And you know, we're somewhere around here right now with our PIDs. Nothing really that dramatic. And then filtering, there's just like no filtering at all. I mean, it's just basically almost all turned off with the RPM stuff. just pretty much what everybody else is doing. So nothing special there. But anyway, that's just kind of where we're at right now. It's snowing outside, so I wanted to talk about something here, and I just watched that video, so I figured I would talk about that, and it got me going down the rabbit hole. So I'm going down the FPV rabbit hole. We're gonna do a FALCOX build because I have all that stuff, and get that ESC and probably get that built sometime today. So it's gonna wrap it for this video, people. We will talk to you on the other side.